there, I'm Christine and welcome to my studio. I'm going to show you a cool way to sandwich your quilt today. So you're going to need a few items. Luckily you can get most of them at your local office supply store or your grocery store. First thing you're going to need are some large binder clips, and you're going to need at least 6 of these things. Next, you're going to need a table. You know, it can be a cheap card table or a cutting table. The table does not need to be large. That's the beauty of this method. But the binder clips do need to be able to clip to the side of the table. You're also going to need to buy some skewers from your local grocery store. They come in these bags of like thousands. You only need 4. And the skewers have a very sharp point on them. First thing we want to do is we want to sand that point off with a piece of sandpaper. It takes a second just to dull it because that sharp point can puncture your fabric, so it's best to have them filed down. You're also going to need some masking tape. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is you're going to lay 4 skewers. You only need 4 of them. And I've already got mine taped down, but you're going to find your horizontal center of your table. Now I just happen to know that when I measured my table from this side, the width of my table, that it was exactly 40 inches. So my halfway point would be 20. I made note of where 20 was, and I taped a skewer down there. And then I did it on the other side. So I've actually got 2 skewers right here, but they're already taped down, and I taped the entire thing down, one end to the other, because we don't want any of the sticks showing. We want it completely covered with tape. And then what you'll do is you'll get your vertical center with the other 2 skewers that you have and tape them down. Now on this table I'm very lucky because I have an inset in my cutting table. From one inset to the other was 22 inches. So I just found where 11 inches would be my middle. And I just took my ruler like this and put my 11-inch line here, so I had a straight edge here, laid my skewer down, and then just taped it there, and I did it on the other side. It's a little bit easier than trying to mark up your table. Now the reason why you want to have everything taped down, you want to use skewers, is because now this is a raised area that we will be able to feel between 3 layers of fabric, between our top, our backing fabric, and our batting. Okay, the first thing we're going to do when we sandwich our quilt is we need to find the center of all 3 pieces that we're sandwiching together, our backing fabric, our batting, and our quilt top. And just like you did when you were in elementary school or in kindergarten, you wanted to find the center of this piece of paper, you would take the paper, you would fold it in half, then you would fold it the other way in half, or fold it again in half. And now we have a little cross where the center of our paper is. That's what we're going to do with our quilt back, our batting, and our quilt top. Luckily for you, I have already found the center of these 3 pieces. Okay, so when you're putting down your quilt back, because we're making a sandwich, we want the pretty side. Alright, now you can see where my crease and my seam line is, indicating where my center point is. Now I'm going to just kind of feel around. Right here I can feel where that skewer is, and I can feel the skewer here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take one of the binder clips and put a clip there for my width. I'm going to pull them tight. Somewhere here. Just kind of hold it in place. And then I want to do my length. I'm going to put a clip here, kind of pull it taut. And then I'm going to do it here. And then you can use your extra clips. I usually do this with 6 clips, so I had one in the center. I'm probably going to move it out to the side now. If you wanted to use 8 clips or more, you could do that as well. Hi. Let's see if my camera person can not get me here. Alright. Okay. Now the idea is if we, if our backing is the right size, our batting is the right size that we need for our quilt top, when we line up all 3 layers with the center point, we should be just perfectly aligned. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my batting, and again I have pressed it. I use 100% cotton batting, so you can press it just like you would fabric because it's just 100% cotton. It does kind of smell like a wet sheep, or a wet dog, I guess. Now, one of the things, especially when I'm teaching my beginners, is people always want to just really press out all the wrinkles on batting. But batting is supposed to be fluffy, and it doesn't do very well when you start taking your hands and moving it, trying to move the wrinkles out. Just want to make sure our skewers are there. It's almost better if you just kind of pop it down with your hand, kind of pat it down with your hand. Maybe lift a little bit of air up under it. Okay. Right here you can kind of putting a little bit of air up under there. Once I have it where I want it, I can see my crosshairs. I don't know if you on camera can see that, but I can feel my skewers. I can feel them right here, right where my lines are. So now I'm going to reach under my backing fabric, or my batting, and I'm going to pull the binder clip out, and now I'm going to clip the batting to the table along with the backing. I'm still clipping the backing. And you like to do cross sides. So if I do one, if I'm doing the width first, if I'm doing the width on one side, I want to do the width on the other side. Hello, camera. You guys can't see it, but I get very close to that camera when I'm doing this, and I'm a tad bit camera shy. Very camera shy. Check my corners here. Alright, so now I've got my batting and my backing both perfectly aligned. Now comes the part where we put the top on. We have this gorgeous, gorgeous top made by my daughter Katie. And I have it folded this way. Actually, I'm going to have to open this up because we want the pretty side of the quilt face up. Now usually when you have square tops like this, it's really easy just to kind of count your squares and find where your center is. I did press mine, but because I pressed it right on a seam, it's kind of difficult to see exactly where that is. But I've got 2 rows here, 2 rows there. Here's where my block is. I'm a little bit up high. There we go. And bring that down. Okay, I've got my horizontal centered. Now let me find my vertical. 1, 2, 1, 2. So it's right here in the middle. I need to go up just a little bit because I'm down. You put just a little bit of air under that. Usually moves a little bit better than trying to pull it. We are perfectly lined up now. That bright and cherry. This is going to be one of Katie's new patterns coming out. She doesn't have a name for it yet. It's very scrappy. Now you'll notice it's not long enough for me to clip the ends, so let's not worry about that yet. Let's just get the clips that we have in place that we are able to clip to the top down. Alright, and here we are. We have it clipped. I always like to check, Katie, if you could hit the camera here. I always like to check to make sure that I still have enough backing under my backing and batting under the top. I just do a little quick check. I mean, it should all work because we centered everything up. But I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than putting 200 pins in a quilt top and finding you're short on one area. So it just takes a second just to kind of check it. I'm going to check it over here. Oh yeah, I've got plenty. Alright, now, since our clips on the ends, they're really not holding our top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move one from the side, and I'm going to put it right on the edge, and then I'm going to take the other clip down here and put it on the very edge of the quilt top, and then the one I had down here, I'm going to just stick it in the center, and I'm going to do the same to the other side. One down here, and go behind the camera, one here, and then we'll take this one and just put it right here in the center. There we go, and there you have it. All your quilt layers are now layered together, and you didn't have to crawl on the floor and get down on your hands and knees. And like I said, you could do this with a tiny table too, as long as you get your center lined up. You put all your pins down, and then you unclip, and you can slide what's pinned together over to get the part that's falling off the table. So when I have this all clipped, I'll pull it over, I'll re-clip it all down, and I'll go ahead and pin this down, and then I'll slide it over the other way to pin the rest of it in place. There you have it. So I've kind of placed some paper down around the block so we can all focus in on just what one block looks like. I want to keep my pins inside the block, because the first thing I'm going to do when I quilt is I'm going to stitch not in the ditch but along the ditch, and that's another video coming up, so if you want to learn how to stitch along the ditch and other neat ways for quilting this quilt, you can check out that video blog when we get it out. But for right now, I just want to zoom in on the quilt, and this is a 12-inch block, and what I've done is I placed about 9 pins on the block. I pretty much want one palm for every pin. So you can see I've got like 3 pins here, pins here, pins here, and pins here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick my pins in, but I'm not going to close them. Now, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this video blog, because I am around quilting 24/7. When I'm not working part-time in the quilt store, I'm down here in the studio making and designing quilts, and I am just privy to a wealth of information. The girls I work with, they are just all incredibly amazing quilters. Some of them are even award-winning quilters. And you just pick up all these little cool tips and hints from them. And one of the hints that I picked up from one of the ladies I work with, her name is Sue, is she never closes her pins when she's sticking them in, because it's really hard when your quilt is really tight to sit here and go and pin. Okay, maybe we can do it, maybe that was an over-exaggeration, maybe I can do a few of them, but after I do about 20, my hand is really cramping, and it's just unpleasant. So just go ahead and stick your quilt pins in, and then when you have all your pins in place and you release your binder quilt clips on the side, you have a little bit more give and take. You can even take the quilt and stick it in your lap, then just go and close the pins. It's a little bit easier to close them at that point. One more thing that I want to really emphasize with you guys out there, if this is going to be your main way of pinning a quilt together, and instead of taking it and sending it off to be quilted, if you're going to be pinning your quilts together and quilting them yourself, please, 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 please invest in good safety pins. You can get them at your local quilt store. I've had, like I say, I teach a lot of beginners, and they come in with pins that are not quilters safety pins. They are dull, and they're just really, really difficult to get through the fabric. Quilter pins are extremely sharp. They're a little bit bent to help kind of scoop through all the layers, and they're just so much easier in your hands and a lot easier to use. Okay, so once you have your whole quilt pinned in place, you can remove your binder clips, and it's ready to quilt. And again, you didn't have to get down on your hands and knees. Have a great day.